Hey, welcome back. It's Eric Arnold, and I'm here in my studio, which for today, I'm going to call it the Politics Barn. Now, you longtime subscribers know it mostly as the Sports Barn, where we talk about sports, where we handicap sports, college football, baseball, college basketball primarily. Just so you know, we're 7 games in to the bowl season, 5 winners, 2 losers. Year-to-date record, 170 wins, 138 losses. That's 55.2% winning. I'll put that up against anybody. Those picks are free, I might add. If you find a better handicapper in college football giving you that volume of picks, hitting that percentage rate of winners, please put it in the comments because I want to tail that guy. So at any rate, we're here to talk politics. Why do we make these political videos for our new subscriber, BDY_Y? Well, because I feel the world is sliding into evil and tyranny, and there's a small window here that we have left to speak our mind and try to stop this. It's a window, it's closing. If we don't speak now, they're going to force us to forever hold our peace. So we need to say what we got to say now. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to do that because I think it's important. I have the platform to do it. I think I'm smart enough and informed enough to speak on the issues of the day intelligently. That's what I'm going to try to do and convince. Basically, I'm talking to my Democrat friends. I have a lot of friends that are Democrats, and they're the ones that have put the people who are wrecking this place, wrecking this country. They're the ones that put them in office. And I'm trying to gently convince some of them that maybe there's another way. Maybe you didn't sign up for what's happening. Maybe you were, lied to by the people that you put in office. So that's what we're trying to get across, hoping that some of these people will cross the aisle and help us reverse the course that this country is on at the moment, which is right into the ground. That's where we're going at the moment. So what do we got here? Let's see. Reason I picked today, this Sunday, the 19th of December, to make a video. It just seems like a lot of important news is reaching ahead right now. I guess that's mixing words together, right? What did I say? Coming to a head. Things are coming to a head right now. Sort of, maybe, who knows? Let's talk about it. First, let's start with the Holy Brother Joe Manchin out of the great state of West Virginia. I guess the Build Back Better bill that is sitting in Congress, that I guess the Democrats have made this their signature piece of legislation at the moment, till the next one, is on pause because of Joe Manchin. I don't think some people watching this channel are necessarily political junkies. So for those of you that are political junkies, if I speak in terms below what you know, in other words, yeah, I know that. Come on, let's go. Let's get to the good part. So, some of these people don't even know who Joe Manchin is. He's a senator from West Virginia. West Virginia, in case you don't know, is a heavily, heavily Republican state. It relies primarily on coal, even to this day, despite coal being far out of favor in this country due to just basically the leftists in this country convincing most moderates and a majority of people that coal is bad. Coal is bad, and we don't care that you have a lot of it in West Virginia. Coal's bad, you're bad for digging it out of the ground, and we don't want your goddamn coal. That is pretty much the sentiment of the Democrat Party as far as coal goes. That's why they're all Republicans. They used to all be Democrats. They all used to be heavily unionized, Believe it or not, the Democrat Party used to be, I'm going to say, pretty accurately, used to be the party of the working man, party of unions. The guy that would join a union to protect his rights from the bad old giant corporation. Well, the Democrats would stand up for that guy, that union guy. I don't think they're anywhere close to the party of the unions anymore. And if unions do support the Democrats, I think they're foolish, at least as far as the rank and file goes. I'm sure the union leadership is getting taken care of, but the rank and file are getting screwed over because the Democrats don't represent the union man anymore. Their policies are bad for the union man. At any rate, so Manchin, he's a Democrat. He's the last vote they need to pass this Build Back Better bill, or I could call it Destroy America Faster bill. So he needs to come along so they can pass this bill. They need his vote, but he won't give it to them. He's a Democrat, and he won't give his own party the vote. Well, because the bill is going to largely screw over his constituents. His constituents don't want this bill. So they're stuck at the moment. The leftist press is saying it's dead. It's not dead. It's never dead. I mean, things never die in Washington. It's an ongoing game without a clock. They'll just come back next year and try to bribe this guy with more and more stuff and eventually try to buy him off and get his vote. And they probably will. They just haven't ponied up his price yet. So, at the moment, now, I had one of my Democrat friends want a deeper discussion of issues. The underlying thesis there is that Democrats are smart and they're not swayed by, basic name calling. And I'm sure he thinks that I need to persuade him. And he's right. That's the whole point. I need to persuade him as to why his party is wrecking this place. So why is Build Back Better a disaster? Well, have you been to the gas pump lately? Have you been to the grocery store lately? Have you bought anything lately? Inflation's out of control. You're paying a lot more money now than you were just 18 months ago. Hell, even and go back beyond before the world ended. Go back pre-pandemic. I mean, the prices are just, they're through the roof. I mean, you're paying 20, 30% more than what you were paying for pre-pandemic. Excuse me. Now, that's almost impossible for the average American family to absorb. An American family isn't socking away 30% of what they make and stuffing it in a bank. They're making 5, 10%. Some are making nothing. In other words, they live paycheck to paycheck. Whatever comes in, goes out. Now, does some of it go out frivolously? Absolutely. A lot of Americans spend frivolously. They don't save. They should, but they don't. So but my point is the margin that an American family saves, it's not 20, 30%, but that's what's being taken away in inflation. So suddenly now you got to come up with that extra nut every month to meet your expenses. Where are you going to do it? You got to cut back. You got to eat less or less quality food, or you just can't eat out as much. You can't drive as much. You got to be careful where you drive. You've got to cut back in any number of ways, but you got to do it because everything costs more. And everyone knows this, basically, that goes and buys anything. Now, if you're, a rich elitist Democrat who has your butler go buy stuff and sends the bill to the accountant, then you probably don't recognize this. You don't understand this. But the working families in this country, we do. So this is bad. Why is this bad? What's this have to do with Build Back Better? This country's broke, completely and totally broke. So this sudden flood of cash that we've dumped into the economy since this pandemic started, printing money that we don't have left and right, just sending checks out to the whole country. Here, have a check. No, have another check. So have 3 checks. Paying people not to work, destroying our own economy with needless, stupid, idiotic lockdowns. That's what's caused this ridiculous inflation, wrecking our oil and gas industry for no other reason that we don't like oil and gas suddenly. And when I say we, I mean the Democrats. That's all caused this runaway inflation. So what happens when you spend more money, and what the Democrats want to spend in these bills, this infrastructure bill, which is a done deal, and then this whatever, Build Back Better bill, which is, they say it's 1.8 trillion. It's probably double that because they're hiding the true cost of the bill with all kind of accounting gimmicks and sleight of hand and your typical Washington gimmickry, which is all, designed to hide and trick and fool you, the voter. So it's much more than 1.8, I would argue. And what happens when all that money gets, quote, spent, which means printed, created out of thin air? Well, it just goes right into the economy again and just pushes inflation higher and higher, higher and higher. And that's exactly what we want, right? I sure as hell don't want that. I'm tired of paying $3.50 for a gallon of gas. I'm tired of paying $5 for the cheapest grade of ground beef I can buy. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of having to cut back. I had to cut back on my hamburgers that I buy. I'm getting these machine-made things that taste like goddamn cardboard. It's almost like, God, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and find the money to go buy the hamburgers I used to eat, which actually take like beef, rather than these things that taste like cardboard. It's not right. And that money that they want to spend in the Build Back Better bill, that is just going to make inflation much worse. Much worse. It's the exact opposite of what we should be doing. Where we sit in this country right now is that we have so much debt. We're completely broke. We have so much debt. What does that mean? We have debt. Debt to who? Well, is that important? The debt's to us. The debt is to us, the people, basically. I mean, in other words, do you expect to live to 65? Well, they have promised you're going to get paid so much money in Social Security up until you die. Also, then, they're going to promise to pay you in the way of medical benefits through Medicare, so much medical benefits till you die. They've got all kind of promissory notes out there to the people of this country. The individual states, they have promissory notes out there. Did you work as a teacher? Did you work as a fireman or a policeman? Or were you in the military? Then they've got all kinds of promissory notes out there promising to pay you people pensions and money of such a fashion till you die. They don't have this money. There is no money to pay these people. They don't have the money. So how are they paying them? Well, there's one of two ways to do it. You either inflate your way out of the problem, which would be basically what they're doing now. In other words, I promised to pay you until you die. Well, to work out to, let's say, $300,000. You'll get your $300,000, which used to buy a nice house somewhere possibly. You'll get it. But when you get it, it ain't going to buy anything. It's not going to buy a nice house. It might not even buy a car. I'm exaggerating. It'll probably buy, a car. But that's about it. Not 2 cars. Maybe just one nice car. That's about all to buy. That's inflation. So they didn't lie to you per se. You still got your $300,000 that they promised you. Now I would say they did lie to you because what was promised to me was not a dollar amount necessarily. What was promised to me was a standard of living that I would get enough money to establish a certain standard of living. that, it's not a high standard of living, but I won't be eating government cheese. Well, those bets are off. You're going to get a number, and that number ain't going to buy that much. But you got the number. We said we were going to give you this number. You ever get them statements from Social Security? And they have all these numbers in there about what you can expect to get and what you paid into the system, and it's all worked out to the nickel. And it's like, oh, well, very, very efficient. They know exactly what I'm supposed to get. Okay. And then, of course, you're going to get that number. It's just not going to buy very much because that's inflation. That's what we have now. That's what the Democrats have caused. That's what they will cause more of with the Build Back Better bill. The other way you can get out of it is raise interest rates. That's the way to get rid of inflation. That's what they did in the 70s, where we had runaway inflation and they raised interest rates. And it wrecked, I won't say it wrecked, but it decimated the stock market, because all of a sudden now, when it costs an extra 15% to borrow money, no one's borrowing money if they can help it. So that limits economic output. People take that money out of the stock market and put it into bonds because now they're getting paid to save rather than spend. So when that happens, that knocks down inflation, but for the moment, it also knocks down the economy. Now, is that a terrible thing? No, not really, because eventually you get out of it. Eventually you suck up the inflation, and then you hit a cycle of growth in the economy, and it's all good. That's what happened in the 80s. So high interest rates in the 70s, or late 70s, I would say, ultimately was a very good thing. That's what I believe. It was a very good thing. Now, why don't we do that? If it's a very good thing, why don't we do that? We can't do it because of the debt. We can't do it because now the government, as opposed to the 70s, it owes the whole world trillions of dollars. If they would raise interest rates, the government would default. They couldn't make the debt payments. They couldn't make the interest payments. So that avenue you can just forget about. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. The only way out of this problem is to inflate our way out of it, or just bite the bullet and stop spending so much, which is the exact opposite of Build Back Better. You don't need any of this crap in this bill. We don't have the money to pay for it. And so that's my thought process on why do we need this crap? Why are we spending all this money that we don't have? Why are we making inflation worse? Just don't do anything. That would be the course. The real correct course would be slash government spending. But, obviously that's not an option with the Democrats controlling both houses of Congress. So, at the moment, the best course of action is nothing. Joe Manchin apparently has figured that out, along with the rest of the Republican caucus for the most part. So, Build Back Better, terrible policy. Now, let's get to what I really want to talk about, and that's vaccination mandates. Now, I got to be careful here because the free speech Nazis at YouTube, you have no idea what triggers them and what gets you kicked off of YouTube. So you got to be careful, and I'm going to try not to offend. But, this is it is the most important policy point going at the moment. Build Back Better, to my Democrat friends, we can negotiate that. Reasonable people can look at the direction of the economy and we can say, all right, I understand you want to throw a bag of money at that underprivileged Democrat constituency over there. Okay, maybe we can negotiate a settlement. Maybe there's an underserved Republican constituency that maybe we can get part of that money too. Or maybe that underserved Democrat constituency you want to throw a bag of money at, maybe we think we're on our way to converting that constituency to a Republican constituency. So maybe there's some room for negotiation. How much gets spent, how much taxes gets taken from us, the taxpayer. I think this is negotiable. I think this has historically been fair, that you can go back and forth. and determine how much money gets put into the government, how much money is allowed to stay in the taxpayer's pocket. What we're talking about next is a total change of how this country does business, a fundamental change, and that's why it's so critical. And of course, speaking about it on platforms like YouTube and YouTube's refusal to allow free speech, also critical. These are critical issues that have never really come to fore in this country before. I mean, I'm sure there have been for some free speech issues throughout history here and there. But vaccination mandates, the government telling a large percentage, I guess we could say it's 25 to 30% of Americans, that they must make a health decision that they do not agree with, but they're forced to do it upon pain of economic punishment, perhaps starvation. They must do it, or they will be punished severely. We've never done that as Americans. We've never done that as Americans. Furthermore, we didn't have any kind of vote on this. Come to think of it, the guy pushing this, President Dementia, Joe Biden, I'm pretty sure leading up to the election, his position on this was he did not back mandates. Then, of course, bait and switch. He gets in there, now suddenly we get this horrific vaccination mandate. If you've been asleep, he hasn't proposed, it's here. Any company that's got 100 or more employees, they've got until January 10th to get everybody vaccinated or set up some kind of, I think it's weekly testing regimen, or they will be fined draconian fines by OSHA, whatever the hell that stands for, Occupational Safe and Health Administration. So they've got to the 10th of January to get this. If you've got 100 or more employees, you got to do this. This was green lighted again in the courts. As I predicted, the courts initially put a stay on this. The, I believe, 6th Court of Appeal flipped that back to green light for the government. As I predicted, the courts will not get involved in this issue. If the government wants to punish the citizenry that voted them into office, the courts are all the more happy to let them go do it. And that was, well, I think it's going to go down. You know, basically your next step is the Supreme Court. We'll find out soon, right? It's the 19th of December. This takes effect on the 10th of January. There's already a line out the door at the Supreme Court of Plaintiffs begging for an emergency stay of this horrific, unethical, unconstitutional mandate. And will the Supreme Court step in or not? Now, I think it breaks down like this. You have 3 hardcore government votes there for whatever the government wants. Obviously, the Democrats, Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor, they're going to vote for whatever the government wants to do. It doesn't matter what it is. They're going to come down on the side of the government. Then on the other side, you got Thomas, Gorsuch, and Alito. They're going to support freedom. They're going to support patriotism and independence, responsibility, individual liberty. So we got 3-3. Then you got 3 in the middle, where you got the infamous John Roberts, and then the 2 most recent Trump nominees, Brett Kavanaugh and I believe Amy Coney Barrett. I think that's her name. I don't think the 3 in the middle are going to stand up. I really don't. You know, John Roberts has a long history of villainy, and I think it's pretty safe to say that, as usual, he's going to take the Obamacare out and basically say, you know what, you people voted for this shit, it's on you, and I ain't going to step in and stop it. I don't care what the Constitution says. You voted for it, I don't care what that old piece of paper says, you get it. And that's more or less Robert's position on Obamacare, and I believe it will be his position here. So that leaves the two Trump nominees, and they're both going to have to come down on the side of freedom, and I don't think they're going to. I just don't think so. I just don't see, I think the pressure on them is going to be too great. And basically, they are elite authoritarians. That's their resumes. They've been elite authoritarians their whole careers, whether they have a GOP stamp on them or not. That's what they are. They're elite authoritarians, and this is what this mandate's all about. It's about the elites ramming down a one-size-fits-all solution onto the people, taking away their rights and telling them what to do. We know what to do because we're smarter than you. And by God, you're going to do what we want or we're going to punish the hell out of you. That's pretty much how it goes down. And that's where these people come from, the Ivy Leagues. So I have my grave doubts that Kavanaugh and Barrett are going to stand up here. Grave doubts. Sorry to say, I hope I'm wrong. I'm not wrong, but I hope I'm wrong. I mean, as I pointed to my college football record, it's pretty clear we're more often right in the barn than we are wrong here in the sports/politics barn. So now, ultimately, how do we get out of this mess? Well, we vote these people out. That's the whole point. That's what I'm trying to get across to my Democrat friends, that you don't have to lose today. You get up this morning, we can win. We can win together. We can change all this. We can get out of this mess. We can do it. We are doing it. We just got to keep moving forward. So when the next election comes up, by God, don't vote for a Democrat. You cannot vote for Democrats. You cannot vote for Democrats. They're the ones wrecking this country. The Democrats that are in power now, the people, my friends that are Democrats, did you sign up for this? Did they tell you they were going to do this? Did they tell you we were going to have $3.50 gas? Did they tell you that they were going to shut down the entire American oil and gas industry? Did they tell you that? Did they tell you that we were going to have vaccination mandates throwing 20-30% of Americans out of work? Did they tell you that? No, they didn't. So maybe they lied to you. Maybe you were tricked. Hey, it's all right. I mean, people get taken advantage of every day. Just, you get fooled once, shame on you. You get fooled twice, you get fooled once, shame on the other guy. You get fooled twice, shame on you. So don't get fooled again. So that's the point there, and we're trying to make. So in 2024, we got a choice to make, and we've kind of been, nobody's really been talking openly about, well, are we going to put Donald Trump up again as the nominee? Hey, listen, I don't want to get into that debate because that video would be 8 hours long. I'll just say this. There's a seminal moment coming up here in the next 3 weeks that'll tell us a lot about what we should think of Donald Trump, and that's how his Supreme Court justices vote. He's got 3 of them. We need all 3. If any of these vote the wrong way, vote for tyranny on these vaccination mandates, who do we see about that? Who do we go to for redress on that? Who do we blame? Well, we would blame or credit, depending if I'm wrong and they all come through like champions. If they all come through like champions, we credit Donald J. Trump that he brought us these Supreme Court justices that freed us from this vaccination mandate tyranny. We would credit them. Now, if they screw us, we would correctly blame him, and he would deserve every bit of that blame. So it's, a lot of your legacy, Mr. Trump, rides on what happens here in the next 3 weeks at the Supreme Court. And we will find out, did you choose poorly or did you choose wisely? We will find out. All right, what else we got here? I saw that criminal Anthony Fauci. This is another thing here we got coming here is the Omicron There's only one N in, it's not Omicron, it's Omicron, right? That's the new variant. That's where we're going here. I guess that's now, the thing. And he has predicted, Anthony Fauci has predicted that we will see the worst amount of daily hospitalizations and deaths that we've seen yet. It's going to be worse than when everyone was unvaccinated. It's going to be the worst ever. The worst ever. He predicted that, I believe, in an interview with Jake Tapper. I think it happened today. Jake Tapper asked him, do you expect to see record hospitalizations and deaths? And of course, Fauci grabs that softball and runs right with it. Well, absolutely, or whatever the hell he said, but words to the effect of, yes, he does expect to see that. Okay, I think he's wrong. Frankly, I don't think it's that serious, but what do I know? And we'll find out. It makes you wonder, though. It's like, if you're right, then what? How is this possible? We're 2 years into this, and you guys still haven't figured out how to stop this. All these vaccinations that you're forcing us to get, and apparently that you're telling me they're not going to work? That doesn't make any sense. I think the vaccination works, YouTube police. I honestly believe that. I believe the vaccinations work. I believe that having the vaccination makes you less susceptible to die from COVID. I think that's been established to me, I still have some decisions and I still can, believe certain things despite what the YouTube police, wants me to believe. I think there where YouTube and I are actually on the same page, that the vaccinations make it less likely that you're going to die from COVID. I think that's true. But, where do we go from here? Do we force people to get these vaccinations? I don't think that makes sense. I think it's terrible public policy. I don't think that's going to lessen the pandemic. I think it's just un-American. It's something we've never done before. You're just stripping a huge percentage of Americans' individual rights from them. You really are stripping all Americans of their rights, because even if you have the vaccination, then you can't change your mind at that point. And that's the other thing, is that they're going to move the goalposts. I predict that'll happen pretty soon. Apparently, President Manchin is going to talk Tuesday night about the virus. I predict it'll be more scapegoating on the unvaccinated. Apparently, there's some scuttlebutt coming out. They're leaking, the White House, they're leaking shit out to one of their mouthpieces, CNN, that they're possibly pivoting from the lockdowns, that they realize the lockdowns are idiotic and that they just can't support them anymore. The people don't want them. We've never wanted them, and they obviously just don't work. So that they're going to kind of pivot away from that, and I assume just then focus on the unvaccinated and just try to cull them from the herd and just focus on them and make them into the scapegoats and just beat the living shit out of them, and hope that the majority of us that are vaccinated will buy into that and just say, yeah, you are the bad guy. So we'll find out. I did have one positive thing happen here this week, and it was a significant moment for me, in that I told you people not several months ago, when the vaccination mandates first came out, and I've said it repeatedly, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. I was too young in the Vietnam era, where we, the United States, forced young people to go fight a war that really made no sense, that we had no business being in. But we lined them up at the point of a gun and marched them off to South Asia, where they would either get shot for not going, or they'd probably get shot over there. So that might be the worst damn thing, had I been older, that I've ever seen. But, I'm not that old, so this is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just the worst damn thing I've ever seen. It's shocking to me, how many people are just so blasé about this that, oh, well, I am vaccinated, so that's that own person's lookout that they've got to make a life and death decision for their family as to whether they eat next week because they don't have a job. That's on them. Okay? Forget about the ethics of it. Forget about whether it's right or wrong. Forget about whether you voted for Joe Biden and put him in office and enabled this guy to do this evil deed. But I had a discussion with one of my inner circle about vaccination mandates, and this person expressed support for the vaccination mandate. And I was just one shocked, two angered, and I lost my temper, and it really saddened me. Because I hurt their feelings. I felt bad because I hurt their feelings. I apologized. I did not convince them at the moment that I was right. It was a wrong way to argue the point. It was exactly what I said I shouldn't do, is, we're not going to convince everybody by screaming in the face they're idiots. And then I did the exact thing. And that's what I did. So it all sucked. Plus, the worst part of it was, I felt bad that this person was, a member of my inner circle, and they're on the side of evil, which is what I think these mandates are. They're just straight up evil. They're just, if you're believing in this, you're bad. This is bad. It's like, you got to think to yourself, who are you? I mean, do you have the right to tell that guy how to handle his own health? Who the hell do you think you are? You're not a good person. Think about that. This is where I'm at with this. So, again, back to Build Back Better. Hey, I think reasonable people can debate that. And just because you want to spend a shitload of money we don't have, maybe that doesn't necessarily make you evil. But you're forcing that guy to take a medical procedure that they absolutely do not want. Yeah, you're starting to tread on the line of evil. That I would say. So within this past week, this person in my inner circle that supports vaccination mandates, they had something happen to them where they were adversely affected by the vaccination craze, the COVID craze, the COVID lunacy. They had something adverse happen in their little world caused by the COVID craze, the governmental hysterical reaction to this whole pandemic. So something happened that hurt them in their little world. And I thought to myself, I wonder what this person thinks of this now. That he loves these vaccination mandates. So I wonder what this person thinks of this now. And sure enough, within 24 hours, this person comes to me and says he does not support the Biden vaccination mandates. He didn't say I was wrong. He didn't apologize. He didn't say I changed my mind. It's fine. I mean, you don't have to say these words. It's most people would rather set themselves on fire than change their mind in an argument. Most people, once they take a position, that's it, and by God, I'm going to defend this position till the fucking cows come home. But most people just won't look critically at an issue and say, maybe I'm on the wrong side. So it took a lot for this person to change his mind, to which I think is to his undying credit. I keep saying his, so I'm partially outing this person as a male, which, probably figured that out already. So at any rate, I'm really happy. I really am happy. It's like, yeah, someone, this is a person on my inner circle. So, yeah, I want people in my inner circle to not be villains. Not, hey, yeah, I'm all right if Jack loses his job. Screw him. He should have gone and got the van, got the shot. That's on him. That's evil. So I'm so glad this person in my inner circle is no longer on the side of the mandate. I won that argument. I did convert that person. We're winning. We're winning. Now, obviously, I don't think this is an issue that this person's going to climb up on the hill and die for. You know, he's not calling his congressperson and say, I hate these mandates and I want them done with. He's not going to do that. But, you know, this is a person that we can reasonably get in the next election. And that's what we need. We're winning. We need to keep pushing and keep trying to convert these moderate Democrats. Did you think that it would be like this when you voted for Joe Biden? Or were you just so offended by mean tweets that you couldn't stand it anymore and you had to vote for Joe Biden? Did you really think it was going to be like this? Did you really think that gas was going to be $3.50 a gallon? Did you really think that goddamn hamburger would be $5 a pound? Oh, so maybe there's another way. Maybe there's another way. That's what we're trying to get across to you moderate Democrats. So we just got to keep pushing forward. We just got to keep going. We are winning. We are winning. Just got to get to the next election, and when you do, you just got to not vote for Democrats. It's as simple as it is. It's not complicated. Vote for anybody. Don't vote at all. Just don't vote for Democrats. It's better if you vote for the Republican candidate, but by God, don't vote for Democrats. So we are winning. We're moving forward. We'll see what happens Tuesday with this, when Manchin makes his speech about where we're going from here as far as what he expects to do. Will he have more restrictions? I reasonably think we're going to have more restrictions on the unvaccinated. Would not surprise me if he bans them from public transportation altogether. Would not surprise me if in the very, very near future he declares unboosted people, therefore unvaccinated. That's going to happen. I don't just think they're quite ready to do it yet on Tuesday. It would not surprise me if this guy on Tuesday declares that unvaccinated people can't move around the country. Now, I don't know how he's going to enforce that, but, you know, I don't think anything's off the table with respect to unvaccinated people. They're going to punish the living shit out of them as hard as they can, and it's up to us to stand up and say, that's wrong, and try to frighten these people to backing off. We can't, you know, they're in office till, you know, their term expires. We can't get rid of them. We can't do anything other than try to frighten them with public opinion. But, you know, that's all we can do. We can just speak amongst ourselves and try to convince people that either don't care or moderately on the fence, please come to our side of the fence. We need to try to stop this. This is why this is bad. That's what we're trying to do here. So that's all I got for you. This video probably ran a little long, but hey, important issues, a lot to say. You try to get into some depth here because, by God, these Democrats, they want deeper discussion, which again, I read that as more of, you need to agree with us. Deeper discussion means you need to agree with us. Well, on some issues, I do not agree with you at all. But, you know. So, did I convince any of you? I know I convinced one of you here in the last few months. One of my inner circle has turned, is now on the side of the angels. So perhaps some of you out there are secretly getting on board here in the politics barn. Hey, it's a movement, baby. It's a movement. So, hey, my name's Eric Arnold. I believe in free speech. We'll talk again.